Hey, what's going on, guys? New warp lamp styles, frame customizations, warp boxes, and so much more come in the latest 1.3 update to the Warp Lamps add-on. The best bang for your buck when it comes to fast travel, waystone teleporters for your Minecraft world. Let's jump into the new features. The first thing the 1.3 update brings is additional warp lamp styles. Now, prior to 1.3, there were a total of 10 different warp lamp styles that you could customize to spice up the aesthetics of your world. 1.3 adds in 3 new types of lamps as well: the oceanic themed warp lamp, the nether themed warp lamp, and the deep dark themed warp lamp. A majority of warp lamp unlocks in-game require you complete achievements that you can access by interacting with any warp lamp, going to the overview, and checking out your achievements menu. From here, you can see all the different things you'll need to achieve in order to get a new warp lamp style. The next feature added in the Warp Lamps 1.3 update is frame color customization. You'll see here that every single warp lamp is encased in a type of metallic-like material that you can now dye as of the 1.3 update. So by using any sorts of the 16 dyes found in-game, you can add whites, grays, blacks, colors of any kind found within the dye options in Minecraft. You can re-dye a metallic frame by using an additional type of dye on top of it, and if for whatever reason you want to remove a dye from any of your given warp lamps that you've already adjusted, you can use either a sponge or a wet sponge to do so. By merely rubbing it across your warp lamp, you will get rid of any dyes found, and you will not consume the sponge or the wet sponge upon doing so. Frame color customization joins the numerous other ways you can modify your warp lamp style to match whatever appearance it is you want it to have, such as by selecting the lamp style's general lamp color. You can change that to whatever you please. By selecting lamp effects from your menu, you can switch from moths to any of the numerous different particle styles that are present as well to change that up. And of course, by using precious gems and ores to apply them to your lamps to further customize the trims of them, or by removing them by using a brush on the given lamp. All these features working together means there are literally millions of ways to customize your warp lamps to match your specific tastes. Some of these look familiar? Now, in case it wasn't obvious, the latest Warp Lamps update also adds vibrant visual enhanced warp lamp features. So now warp lamps have the ability to give off emissive light depending on how you customize them. An additional feature found in the 1.3 update for warp lamps is a warp lamps favorites list. When you access a warp lamp and go to your warp 2 list, you can see all of the various warp lamps that you have found and activated in your world. Having a lot of warps found in your world makes it a little bit difficult to sometimes find a specific warp you're looking for, especially if you don't bother naming any of them. So instead, what you can do is go to your More Options menu and mark a lamp as your favorite. It will mark that specific lamp as a favorite, and now anytime you access any warp lamp in-game except for the favorite and go to Warp 2, it will always be at the top of your warp list. So by pressing our favorites here, you can see we'll be warped directly over to warp lamp number 18. In a further effort to make warp lamps even more accessible, we've included something known as warp memory. So if you use any given warp lamp in your world to warp to a different lamp, in this case we'll use our nether portal themed lamp to warp back to our favorite, you can now use warp memory to instantly get back to the last warp lamp you used. So for example, we'll go ahead and use this warp lamp to demonstrate. If you sneak in game while interacting with your warp lamp, you can skip all warp menus and immediately go back to the previous warp lamp that's been stored in memory. Only one lamp is stored in quick memory at a time, so if we were to use this lamp instead, what you would find is that you would no longer be warped to the initial one set in memory, but rather the previous one you used. So if you are using 2 warp lamps back and forth readily, you can initiate warp memory to skip any menu navigation that you would normally have to involve yourself with. An additional feature that's come with the latest update is underwater support. You can now fully or even partially submerge warp lamps and have them be usable, a highly requested feature that took a little bit of time to figure out the tech for, but that we are happy to offer in the latest update. And speaking of offerings, another highly requested feature was the ability for our players to bring their companions alongside them on their warping adventures. Simply take a warp lamp that you've crafted or found, put it in your crafting grid to create 9 warp lamp shards. Upon holding a warp lamp shard, you will be greeted with particle effects that cover any given entity that you happen to be nearby that is compatible with bringing alongside you in a warp lamp. By right-clicking them with a warp lamp shard, their particles will turn green, indicating that they are now eligible to join you whenever you use a warp lamp and they happen to be nearby you. So now our wolf buddy here has the ability to join us, and join us he shall. Ensure that any creatures you want to warp alongside you are nearby the lamp in order for them to be eligible, and you'll notice that the warp particles begin encompassing them as well. For protective purposes, we've ensured that pets, villagers, and any other entity you bring alongside you when warping are given a temporary resistance effect so that if you happen to warp nearby any lava or any sorts of danger, they will not die. And if for whatever reason you want to remove an entity from being eligible for warping, simply use another warp lamp shard on them again, and their particle state will revert back, indicating that they will not teleport with you next time they happen to be nearby. Sorry, Sparky, this adventure's my own. Our final and possibly coolest feature in the 1.3 update for warp lamps introduces the warp box. This allows for item teleportation as well. When placing a warp box down, you will be met with a default themed warp box, and you can place any items as you please within it. The moment you place down another warp box, though, you'll be able to access those items at a moment's notice. If I were to take the items from this, you'll notice that they are gone in this box as well. Furthermore, by sneak interacting with a warp box, you can edit the warp box by changing the color that emanates from the warp box, as well as by changing the name of the warp box from default, which is the default, over to any name you please. To do so, sneak and interact and create a warp box network. You can name this whatever it is you want. You can change the icon associated with your new network, and you can even privatize it if you like. Upon pressing confirm, you'll now see that the warp box name has changed, and upon interact, you can change the network that the given warp box is on. Now that I've changed this warp box's network over to whatever it is you want, you'll note that the items that were once previously found inside of it are no longer there. Instead, they are continuing to be relegated to the default network. That said, I can change the network at any time by sneak interacting, going to manage warp box networks, and selecting the network I want to modify. From here, you can update the network's icon, view the inventory of it, or even delete the network. Here we're on the default network. If we were to access our Warpbox network settings and choose a different network separate from the one we are currently accessing, we also have the ability to change the current Warpbox to use this network instead. And so now all the items are no longer found in this network. Warpboxes placed down will spawn to the default network by default, which means that if you don't want to mess with any of that, you can simply use this as a fun new way to move items around. And furthermore, you can access these items in more than just 2 Warpboxes. You can have as many as you want. As a final protective measure, we've ensured there are anti-duplication measures in play. So if you happen to use warp lamps in your world, players will be unable to access any network warp boxes that are already in use by other players. So don't get any funny ideas. And as a cherry on top, warp boxes are hopper compatible as well. So you'll see items from a hopper being placed right into our default oak planks. Now, they will only update when you are not accessing the network as well, again, for item duplication protection, but will work just fine so long as you're not interacting with that network. And on top of that, literally, you can also withdraw items from a hopper as well. So you can see that our oak planks are essentially traveling from this hopper over to another one. Wireless hoppers, anyone? It's still only $1 single. We hope you guys will enjoy and consider purchasing the Warp Lamps add-on. And we thank you for joining us for this presentation of the 1.3 update. For more information about every single change that came with the 1.3 update, simply interact with any warp lamp in your world, go to the overview, and check out the changelog for more information.